Do you know why a ship floats?
Da 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 da. We will not go quietly into the night. You, Amazon, cannot handle the truth. You shall not pass.
You really just did not prepare me at all.
By the way, we don't mention our names. I'm Austin. Hi, everybody.
I'm Richard.
So just
Yeah,
so people in
I
comments
started
were like, guy
noticing.
on left, guy on right.
So Richard,
Austin.
All right.
So I have my glasses on. That's now you know I'm serious. I wanted to match your bravado, get on the same level. We have the books out here, the Silmarillion here, Lord of the Rings here.
Yeah.
They're out and displayed.
There's other books up there.
They're everywhere.
There's some still in the mail because it's fine. I do want to preface, I actually started reading the Silmarillion 2 days ago before watching. I thought I could finish it in time for the Rings of Power. Could not. I'm reading it too slow. But I'm only a third of the way done through the Silmarillion, so I will finish in the next week, but still.
But you have read Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, just
Yeah, I read all that. Yeah.
So, just to preface this, the Lord of the Rings movies are both of our favorite, besides Blues Brothers, but are both of our
Beside
favorite,
the Blues Brothers, it's my favorite.
It is my favorite trilogy movies, period, of all time. So, we'll talk about expectations going into this, but just to let you all know, we're very emotional this episode. So we're going to defend and constructively analyze the Rings of Power horribly because this is all feelings coming out. This is my personal feelings about Lord of the Rings and the Rings of Power. So just to preface, everything we're about to say here, probably going to be messy, doesn't make too much sense, but it's how we feel on the inside, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters is how we feel.
So, first things first. Rings of Power. Okay, so what we knew about Rings of Power going in, that this thing had $1 billion total into the project. They had to spend $250 million just to get the rights in the appendices at the end of Return of the King in the book.
They have the rights to the Lord of the Rings.
Appendices.
In total. They do have the rights. Amazon purchased the rights to the total of the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
However, the only subject material that covers the first and second age in Lord of the Rings, other than songs and stories in the books, is the about 30 pages of appendices in The Return of the King.
Okay.
So that is what they are using as source material. If they wanted to, they technically have the rights if they wanted to make a TV show on The Lord of the Rings.
Really? I did not know that.
They could have done that.
Wow.
That'd been stupid.
Okay.
Been a stupid move, but they could have.
Hey, Austin here, just editing. Sorry, we got that information wrong. It turns out that the Tolkien estate did not grant Amazon any permission to film anything other than the second age. So that's why we don't see a story based on the third age, which is the Lord of the Rings that we know. Sorry about that.
Okay, so they spent $250 million for those particular rights.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, the other $700 million, they have combined with marketing, CGI, all that galore, okay? Lots of money going into this, and lots of trailers were released by the Rings of Power. And Amazon released maybe 27 trailers coming up to this. And I watched a couple of them.
They released barely anything at all, and then right before they started dropping stuff.
And how many of those trailers did you go out and watch?
I watched quite a few of them.
Thoughts of those trailers? What were your expectations going into the show? Seeing the money, seeing the trailers?
The red flag of the trailers was, I get it, Rings of Power, it's the Forging of the Rings, but I don't even think that happens in the season. I had no idea what the show was about. Like, normally a trailer tells you, like, what the story's about. Mm-hmm. Nothing. They just, like, showed interesting shots, and then, like, that's it. And then, like, characters. But I had no idea what the show was about. I'm 2 episodes in. I still don't know really what the story's about. What it's really supposed to, like, yeah.
Yeah, so
there's stuff and things.
There are stuff and things.
There's stuff and things, but I don't know. Like, okay, Sauron's back. That's about it.
see, the other issue is they're fighting a losing battle, even with these trailers coming out, and the show premise is Lord of the Rings is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. And seeing it corporatized, like, obviously you can make complaints about new Star Wars, Marvel. House of Dragon just came out based on Game of Thrones, actually has George R. R. Martin involved. It seems it's actually holding up 2 episodes in, but you have all of these IPs, and this is another IP. You have Lord of the Rings with the label, and it comes down to, will Amazon and will these, which, by the way, I believe it's the writers or directors, I'm not exactly correct which I'm talking about here, but I know this because I know from a guy who knew a guy, right? But I know this, that apparently the creators / writers, whichever part of the show they're on, haven't done a show before other than they worked on Star Trek. And now they're doing this. Like, they control a lot of it, from what I heard. Expectations going in, even before we watched the episodes tonight, here are the reviews that we saw. Are you ready for this?
Go on.
84% critic score. Pretty high, but typically for these type of things, critics are very lenient. Audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 34%. Now, there's an asterisk there. So, get this. For example, The Hollywood Reporter, in quotes, said, "It's great," talking about the show. "It's great. A gorgeously immersive and grandly ambitious spectacle, packed with stunning imagery and compelling plot threads." And then in really, really small letters here, it says, "We were paid $5.8 million." Okay, it doesn't say that, but that's what they said about the show, and we'll get into that. But also, this just happened. Amazon's own review ecosystem right now is not clear because they took the unusual step of suspending users from rating the show, and they will be doing this for 72 hours. The reason being, they're saying that people are review bombing, meaning that they're going out of their way to review this poorly because of the cultural political issues around it and not reviewing it because of the actual quality of the show. What do you think about all that information I just gave to you? So it seems like you're not receiving that well.
Yeah, I call bull.
Okay. Do you think the 34% from the audience is generous? Or where do you think it is on that level?
I mean, honestly, I am not surprised. Like, things we've been getting red flags from trailers of like, hey, look, if you wanted a TV show about Tolkien's world and Tolkien's characters, if that's what you wanted, it's not what you're going to get. It's going to be fan fiction on Lord of the Rings with some similarities. That's basically what the trailers and the creators and the actors basically telling you. Yeah, no duh, the Tolkien fans are like, yeah, no. Downvote. Don't like it.
Get into our thoughts about the show now. We gave our premises, expectations, what the reviews are.
By the way, my expectations were very low.
Yes, both of ours, extremely low expectations. Because of the red flags from the trailers, obviously the movies are perfection. It's a lot to compare to, and to get into Tolkien's world is very difficult to do. Now, before I lead it to you, I just want to say my one-word synopsis of my general feelings. I don't hate it. I don't think it's terrible. And that might shock you, but I don't think it's terrible. I don't hate it. I'm not like, this is the worst show. This is terrible. Everything they did was wrong. No. I'm more upset because I'm just bored. I watched the first 2 episodes. We watched the first 2 episodes, and my reaction to it isn't a genuine hate or disgust. It's a genuine, I just don't want to watch this anymore. And it's boring. Honestly,
mediocrity or like boredom is way worse than actually being bad. I feel the same way about Rings of Power as I feel about Justice League. The movie, where Justice League the movie is a bad movie, but it's a boring bad movie. It's not even fun to hate watch it. It's just dull. Like you walk out of the theater and you forget about it because it's just that boring and dull. Yeah. And who cares? That's what Rings of Power is. Like, it isn't abysmally bad. Like, it's not like it has hilariously bad dialogue. Like, what was it? Honestly, Obi-Wan Kenobi had hilarious dialogue. Like, some dialogues like had to make me pause. I'm like, who wrote this? And
like, it was that bad that you had to
It was that bad. Yeah. I didn't have to do that for any of the Rings of Power one, but
it's passable.
It's passable, but like it's definitely not Tolkien, and it's definitely like, this is some first-time writers. Like, I think even I could write better than this.
Because they
And,
don't,
like,
they don't
that's-
have any source material
Or
of dialogue,
actually,
right?
probably more accurate, I would write just as well as this. And I'm not a writer. That's my point.
Well, the case is they don't have dialogue to go off of from books, right?
No,
so
they
it's
don't.
kind of like they're trying to be Tolkien-esque and Middle-earth about it, and it just, you can't
Well, there's
do it.
so many tonal shifts where they start talking in a parody of Tolkien's language and tone, and using these high titles and going on and using all this formal language, and then going into like just weird, like common tongue jokes and language, and it doesn't fit. Or for some reason they're talking normally, like, oh yeah, and we should be going into the Undying. Oh hello, Galadriel. Like it takes every single character says her name weird.
Didn't character say okay? The words okay?
Yeah, which is like, I forget the origin of, like, okay is from an American president that signed his
Old
initial
Kinder or something like that.
He signed
Like
his initials, and it
1800s,
looks like okay, and whatever. But yeah, no, it's a lack of consistency, a lack of creativity and wit, and yeah, no, like of that, all the millions, they barely gave any to the writers.
Do you remember the one line that, I don't know why this line stuck up to me, but the leaf line, like, he tried to make a joke. What, the elf tried to make a joke to the other elf?
Yeah, like, by the way, you smell like
Burnt leaves, was it?
spoiled
leaves.
And
then
what's his
he goes,
witty
no,
retort?
I don't.
No, I don't. Yes, you do. And walks away.
Like, trying to build
Oh yeah, they're trying to build
they're trying
some
to make
type
like
of
a Gimli Legolas type camaraderie.
No,
but
they're just trying to build some character banter between them, and
Yeah.
it just falls. Almost every character. There's only Elrond and Durin's wife. Like, from trailers and from interviews, I was just like, oh, this is not gonna be good. She was like one of the least bad parts of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she acted well, and like she had some personality. Like, she had some spunk, and she seemed like nice.
Right.
She actually seemed like a genuinely nice person.
come eat with us, yeah.
Yeah, no, she seemed like a good mother, wife, and
Richie,
good
we
dwarf.
got to stick on the shtick that we don't like this thing. Let's not be kind.
I'm trying. Like, that was the one time I was like, oh, that's
the
not
other
bad.
good thing we could say, and I know you might think less of this than me, based on quick comments after watching the show, but the looks of it. I totally get your point, and we'll get into that. But I thought the looks were good. The only reason they're good, though, preface this with $1 billion went into this show.
Here's what I will clarify.
And this is where I will agree with you. Go on.
CGI. The CGI looks very good.
Yes.
But the choice of costumes, the choice of shot composition, the choice of camera angles and editing, I don't like any of that.
Especially,
But
it looks like a typical fantasy world.
I
in many
don't like the
moments.
cuts.
Yeah.
The armor just looks so clean and costumish, where it doesn't really seem used, even though Galadriel's apparently been hunting Sauron for hundreds of years. Armor looks fresh, just brand
She might have
spanking
got
new.
new armor. Who knows? She has an armor carrier. You never know.
It just, I don't like any of the choices they made with it. But does it look like 500 million? Yeah, the CGI looks like 500 million.
What did we hear? It's like if you gave a CW show $1 billion.
Yeah.
This is the result.
No, that is true. Like, it's someone gave the CW $1 billion and out popped Rings of Power.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, there are many worse shows than Rings of Power. There are many, many worse shows.
Yeah, there are many worse ones, but there are few as disappointing.
That's the perfect
Because
way to put that. Go on that. Yeah.
I care about Lord of the Rings so much. It's one of the movies and books that is just really close to my heart, at least. And to see it kind of wasted like this, and my only fear, like, if I want it to just go away, I don't want it to tarnish the history. Like, I was talking to somebody about Wheel of Time, and I said, "Oh yeah, I really like the Wheel of Time,
the series, right? The book series."
And they said, "Oh yeah, I saw the TV show. It was okay." And I'm just like, ugh. Like, that's part of its legacy now, and like that's now a part of it. It tarnished, like, That's what people think about when they think Wheel of Time, or some people at least, where I think of books. I don't want this show when, much later down the line, years in the future, I say, oh, I really love Lord of the Rings. And they go, I thought The Rings of Power was okay. I watched that. It was okay television. Like, it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. How many of those can you do before it just ruins a franchise? Star Wars is a great example. I think they've tarnished it to the. They've tarnished prequels, then the sequels. At this point, any Star Wars fans out there, I know you like the
Mandalorian,
the extended universe that Disney canceled, all the books and all the comics,
Clone Wars. Yeah.
But there's some good stuff to it, but it's been so tarnished that it's hard to move forward.
And with Lord of the Rings, quick anecdote. It's near and dear to my heart. This is one of the first movies my dad showed me as a kid and got me to love fantasy and nerd out. And this is it's one of those emotional movies that isn't just a masterpiece even outside of 3-year-olds' perspective watching this. Maybe I was too young to watch this, but I was really young. And this is something my dad and I bond over. It's just awesome. I got toy Ents. This is the coolest thing to me. And going off of your point of people being exposed to Rings of Power for the first, that's their reaction to the Lord of the Rings. My mom she's probably seen clips of the original series and whatnot, but I was talking to her about the Lord of the Rings and trying to get her to actually watch the movies. And she texted me, because she doesn't know a lot about Lord of the Rings at all. She texted me hey, I'm about to watch this. I'm about to watch this. Is this the Lord of the Rings, right? She texted me an image of the Rings of Power with Lord of the Rings, and that was going to be her first thing she watched. And I texted her immediately. This is an emergency. Do not watch that first. No. This is the correct. So I freaked out and was like, Mom, no. So cleared that up. So we avoided that. But there are going to be people whose first introduction to Lord of the Rings is the Rings of Power.
Well, something I kind of wanted to get off my chest, and I was worried about it, and I was rushing to read. I read about 6 hours today trying to barrel through, and I was only able to get to a third of the way through instead. But
Silmarillion.
I watched the movies before I read the book, and the movies are great movies.
Perfect, you meant.
However, it colored my opinion of when reading the book. When I read the book, I have the movie in mind.
Yeah.
And no matter what, I can never get a fresh read. I can never have the unadulterated read of the book. I'm never gonna have that. I never get that. And when reading the Silmarillion, I didn't want the Rings of Power to taint it. No matter how bad it would be a part of my read because it would be in my head. And so I didn't want to that stupid show to actually color my opinion. And thankfully, I read enough that I think I read enough that some of the lore stuff is not colored. I have the book in my mind first rather than the show, but I do. If we continue on, I need to finish the book before we go any further in the show because I refuse to have it tainted any further.
So I have to ask you a big question then.
Yeah.
So before this podcast, we were planning on doing a episode 1-2 initial reaction, and then after the show's finished, a review of the entire series, give our rating and explain our thoughts of the show. Do you even want to continue? Do you want to watch any more episodes and give a review?
I didn't want to watch episode 2.
Then
I honestly didn't even want. I was bored after episode 1. And I didn't want to watch episode 2, but I'm like, we're doing a podcast on it. We got to watch it. And I watched episode 2. Only reason I would watch the rest of the show would be because of To Ramble. That's the only reason. I'd drop it now. Then, if it was up to me.
I think it's important then we should leave it to if anyone wants to comment down below saying that you want to torture us. If anyone wants to see if you want to just show us absolute pain and make us finish watching this show, we will do that if there's enough people that do. But I doubt it.
A truly
I don't think
bad
people want to
show.
See us react more to this.
Yeah, no, if this video gets a bunch of likes and views, all right, I guess we're obligated.
If someone comments we genuinely want to see your reaction, which don't do that. But if there's actually people that want us to review this, I don't think that'll happen. But I think we should give it a shot then.
I guess.
But
the thing is,
that aside, no.
If it was really bad, like if it was like funny bad,
yeah,
like oh they made terrible choices or like just a bunch of stupid mistakes, and like I could watch and laugh at it.
But it's not even that.
I'm just bored.
Yeah,
it's so boring. And anyone that comments like, oh, it's a slow burn, no, that's not. Boring and a slow burn are not the same. They're not like Lord of the Rings is a slow burn, but you know what? It hooks you of interest. It keeps it's slow, but it's like you want to know what happens next. You're curious about what's going on. It grabs your attention and holds you for that long ride.
The characters are interesting and have flaws and wants and needs.
And
versus
there's
the
stuff
characters
going on in the world of
It's-
like, ooh, what's going on with the world? What's this ring? What is it do? Like, there's plenty of stuff that actually hooks your attention. The Rings of Power is just boring. It's not a slow burn. It's setup, and I'm not interested in the setup. I don't care. I don't care about the characters.
No character.
I don't care about like, Sauron's back, I guess. Who is it? Oh, I don't know. He could shapeshift to anybody. Is it the weird asteroid man? Is it the weird M&M guy looking figure in the trailer? Who knows? I don't know. I don't care about any of the characters. And the plot line seems just so like nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, this has been a very depressing review. A very sad review today.
Boring is worse than bad, and it really is boring.
Honestly, we have a whole video where we talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we say a lot of great things. You know, it's a very detailed review.
One of my favorites.
One of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is a worse movie.
Yes.
But I think I would still watch that because it's funnier to watch.
That is true. I would rather watch Avatar: The Last Airbender movie.
Yeah.
Because I can at least laugh.
The best cinematic moment in history is every single person going, and moving the rock
tiny rock
at like the speed of a school bus in a kid zone. It's unbelievably funny.
So honestly, there's quite a few moments that are just really funny. It's not a good movie. It's hilariously bad. It's like The Room bad, kind of. Where Lord of the Rings of Power is just dull.
It is dull. And to finish things up here, Rich, I don't think we should spend any more time on this. And people at this point are going, all right, they're complaining too much.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know what else to say.
To give your summarized review, what do you recommend to the audience? Should they watch this if they couldn't tell so
No.
far?
Don't give them your money. Don't give them your time, please. Just read the books. Or do anything else. Spend time with your family.
Just do something.
Cook a nice meal. Well, I don't know.
There you have it. That's our review. Next episode will be a lot more lively. We're going to be reviewing one of our favorite books ever.
That's true.
The Way of Kings. Coming up next week.
In-depth.
That's the plan.
In-depth proper review with actual research and time going into that.
Yes.
Get our thoughts out.
Well, this was a fun one. Again, for the comments or anything, my name's Austin.
Was it a fun one?
I had fun.
Sure.
Ranting.
I enjoy talking with you about it.
But this has been Richard and Austin. Just those names. We need to get those.
Yeah, we need to get them in there. All right. Sign off. See you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.